Unlock the miraculous 528 Hz, divine pathway to money and sacred wonders manifested in 40 days. In a quaint little village in the heart of England, where every house nestled together like old friends, there lived Sarah, a devoted mother of two. Life hadn't been kind lately. Bills were piling up like autumn leaves at her doorstep, and the pantry was only half filled. Amidst this struggle, she often heard the laughter of her children echoing throughout their warm home, reminding her of joy even amid chaos. But beneath her gentle smile, worry whispered doubts that tugged at her heart relentlessly. One chilly evening, a flicker of hope arrived. During their Sunday service, Pastor Tom passionately declared, "Meditating on the sacred frequency of 528 Hz can unlock miracles. Combine that with prayer, and your lives will transform in just 40 days. The entire congregation buzzed with excitement, but Sarah's heart thundered with a fervent belief. The divine could indeed reach down and touch them, she thought, and her faith burned bright. That night, as the soft glow of candles flickered, Sarah gathered her family for their first prayer session. "Let's talk to God," she whispered, her voice imbued with heartfelt fervor. Little did she know, she was beckoning something magnificent. As they chanted, a tangible wave enveloped them, vibrating with heavenly energy. Something profound had begun. Each day turned into a beautifully chaotic meditation. Her husband Mark, still burdened with doubt, fought against Sarah's relentless optimism. "Practicality matters," he would mumble as Sarah softly hummed the frequency, calling on the universe. Words turned to frictions, tension growing like a storm cloud in their once harmonious home. Around them, whispers of skepticism drifted through the villagers, questioning her unwavering faith. Yet, just as despair teased their hearts, blessings began to tumble forth like cascading pearls. One rainy afternoon, a job offer showed up unexpectedly for Mark, as if dropped straight from heaven. A neighbor gifted them a basket of food without reason or motive. Each small miracle rekindled Sarah's spirit even as dread loomed near. But disaster struck when a storm damaged their home, leaving them in a darker place than before. "How can I believe?" whispered doubt, scratching at Sarah's faith like a hungry beast. In that moment of quiet despair, she stumbled upon an old letter from her grandmother, buried in the pages of a beloved family Bible. It spoke of unyielding faith and the miraculous intercession of St. Jude, the helper of desperate cases. Inspired, she knelt, calling her family to join in prayer. "Let's dig deep," she declared, voices blending, hearts beating as one. An indelible bond was forged, igniting flames of hope in every corner of their hearts. As their prayers grew louder, the village began to notice. Neighbors spoke of strange synchronicities. Their once muted lives now vibrated with inexplicable kindness. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet doubt coursed through their home again, and the question of faith emerged anew. Would they rise above the challenges flickering before them? Would the trials extinguish their light? Or could they stand resolute as the clock counted down to the 40-day promise? Sarah stood on the precipice of uncertainty, her heart a drum of faith, battling the turbulent winds of doubt. Could the divine unfolding still manifest in their lives? Would they encounter miracles in their midst? Or would hope slip through their fingers like sand? Only time would reveal the answers, and Sarah was poised, unwavering, awaiting the dawn of blessings to flow. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah found herself enveloped in a tapestry of prayer and expectancy. The wooden beams of their home creaked under the weight of worries, yet beneath that burden, a flicker of faith glowed like a candle's flame, persistent and unwavering. Sarah took comfort in the little things, the sweet sound of her children's laughter intermingling with her soft humming of the 528 Hz frequency. Every morning she would wake before dawn, the soft light of daybreak painting the sky in hues of hope. Kneeling beside her bed, she surrendered her heart to God once more, whispering her gratitude for even the smallest blessings, a warm cup of tea, the sun peeking through the window, and the heartfelt love of her children. "Lord, let me be your instrument," she whispered, the words releasing a charge of energy into the stillness of the morning. Mark, still swirling in his sea of uncertainty, found it difficult to join in the morning praises. Each session felt like a climb up a steep hill, a struggle against his own doubts, but something was brewing within him. The job offer had sparked a shift, coaxing him to consider that divine favor might be blossoming in their lives. One evening, as they gathered for prayer, Sarah noticed a change in Mark's demeanor. He held her hand a little tighter, his brow slightly unwrinkled. "Maybe we need to just let go and trust, Sarah," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Those words filled her heart with warmth, igniting hope that perhaps they were on a shared journey toward a revelation. With renewed enthusiasm, the family delved deeper into their exploration of faith. They decorated their home with symbols of light, candles, flowers, and simple scriptures from the Bible. Each adorned space a reminder of God's enduring presence. After dinner, they would sit together, surrounded by glowing candlelight, humming softly and inviting the sacred frequency into their home. One night, under a canopy of twinkling stars, Sarah joined her neighbors for an outdoor Vespers service. The air was fragrant with blooming jasmine, and the gentle breeze stirred up the spirit of togetherness. As they sang old hymns, a profound peace settled in her heart. It was as if the universe inhaled with them, connecting their souls into one expansive chorus of faith. But just as joy blossomed, despair lurked nearby. Days later, Sarah received a letter from the landlord about a sudden rent increase. Panic stung her chest, and the shadows of doubt crept back with a vengeance. "What is happening, Lord?" she breathed, clenching the letter tightly. It felt like a cruel reminder that the battle wasn't over yet. Returning home, she found her children playing blissfully in the living room, bright with energy and laughter. Their innocence reminded her of the miracles they had already witnessed. In that moment, she realized something essential. Faith wasn't simply the absence of doubt, it was taking the next step despite it. Determined, she called her family together. "We are going to pray harder than ever. We will not waver in hope," she declared boldly, igniting a spark in the room. Kneeling together, they clasped hands, their breaths synchronized. "St. Jude, we call upon you. Intercede for us in this battle of faith," Sarah implored with conviction. As their voices crescendoed in unity, the atmosphere shifted. A warm light flickered, almost tangible, wrapping around them like an embrace. Something powerful was stirring, blending their hopes and fears into a sacred alchemy. It felt as if heaven was listening, ready to interject. Yet unanswered questions lingered in the air. Would their steadfast prayers catalyze a shift before the deadline? Would they witness another miracle? Or was this a test of their faith? With bated breath, Sarah looked around at her family, sensing that the divine was indeed moving. The clock ticked, and the promise of transformation hung elegantly in the air, waiting to be unveiled. The days passed, marked by anticipation and fervent prayers. Each sunrise brought new hopes, yet the weight of uncertainty loomed over Sarah and her family like a storm cloud. They knew the deadline was inching closer, a reminder of their fragility in this world. Yet alongside that anxiety was a steadfast faith, like an anchor in tempestuous waters. Sarah continued to rise with the dawn, her heart a compass pointing toward God. On one particularly crisp morning, she could hear the faint rustle of leaves outside, whispers of promise dancing in the air. As she knelt to pray, she envisioned the fluttering wings of angels carrying their request to the heavens. "Please, Lord," she murmured, "grant us the wisdom to understand your plan." Mark observed this transformation within her, struck by the unyielding resolve flickering like a beacon. For the first time, he felt a pull, a quiet voice urging him to step into the light of faith. He decided to join her in prayer that morning, kneeling beside her with an open heart. Sarah squeezed his hand, prevailing warmth assuring him he was not alone. "Together we rise," she whispered, their voices merging into a sweet melody of trust. The day unfurled slowly. Mark, emboldened by his wife's unwavering spirit, began reaching out more. He submitted his resume to several companies, hopeful that each effort would draw him closer to the light. It was remarkable how hope kindled fire in his once dimmed spirit, feeding his courage to take those next steps. Later that day, Mark received a call from a recruiter. His heart raced. They offered him an interview within the week, As he hung up, a genuine smile spread across his face, igniting a spark within him. "Sarah," he called excitedly, his hope palpable. As Sarah rushed into the room, her eyes sparkled with joy. They danced together in that moment, free of burdens, filled instead with gratitude. They both knew the path wasn't merely about the job, it was about trust, their footsteps guided by faith. That evening, they invited the children to join their special prayer session. All four of them nestled together on the living room floor, candlelight flickering around them, casting shadows that danced like playful spirits. "Let's share our hopes," Sarah encouraged as they took turns expressing their wishes. A new job, financial security, love, laughter. "God is listening," she reminded them, her voice rich with warmth. Their small but united voices rose in unison, a heartfelt blend of children's innocence and adult earnestness. But as their prayers unfolded into the stillness of the night, doubt began to creep back into Sarah's heart. The landlord's letter weighed heavily on her mind. What if faith isn't enough? She wondered quietly, battling the gnawing fear. Yet just then, duty called her back to the present. She caught sight of her children, their faces alight with joy, and a surge of confidence washed over her. "Faith is our connection to His abundance," she told herself fiercely. The flickering candles mirrored her resolve, illuminating the way forward. Suddenly, a soft knock at the door broke the evening stillness. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She exchanged concerned glances with Mark, fear mingling with curiosity. He rose to answer it. Opening the door revealed their neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, a kind soul who had always kept a watchful eye on them. In her hands, she cradled a basket full of fresh produce and a handwritten note. "I thought you might need this," she said, her voice filled with compassion. As Sarah accepted the unexpected gift, emotions surged within her. Tears of gratitude pooled in her eyes, for it felt like a tangible reminder of God's provision. Perhaps they weren't as alone as the shadows of doubt suggested. "What if this is just the beginning?" Sarah mused aloud, feeling the weight lift just a little. Mark squeezed her hand, both realizing that doors were opening, so many possibilities unfolding. But as the evening drew onwards, lingering fears whispered again. How would they face the impending deadline? With faith clashing against doubt, the question remained alive in the air. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and fresh opportunities for divine encounters, and their journey was far from over. The dawn broke gently, casting a soft glow through the curtains of Sarah and Mark's home. It felt like a new beginning, a chance to embrace the day with fresh hope. As she moved through the morning routine, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was about to happen. "Mom, can we pray again?" One of the children piped up, their little face filled with excitement. Those simple words brightened Sarah's spirit. What better way to start the day than with their collective trust in God? Later, as they gathered again in that familiar cozy corner of the living room, the candle flickered lightly. It was as if heaven itself was leaning in, eager to hear their supplication. "Let's ask for guidance today," Sarah suggested, her voice steady yet filled with hope. Just as they finished their prayer, the phone rang, jolting them from their serene moment. Mark picked up, and Sarah could see the mixture of anticipation and worry dance across his face. After a brief conversation, he hung up, his expression unreadable. "What is it?" Sarah asked, her heart racing. Was it another potential opportunity or more bad news? "It's about the interview. It's scheduled for tomorrow," Mark replied, his voice barely containing the excitement. The children erupted into cheers, and Sarah felt a renewed pulse of faith surge within her. "God is moving," she declared. "He hears our prayers." As the day went on, the sun climbed higher, its warmth wrapping around the family like a protective embrace. They busied themselves with chores, laughter erupting now and then, reminding them of the joy they shared. Yet, in the quiet moments, Sarah couldn't completely shake the weight of worry. Despite every assurance, the landlord's deadline loomed like a gray cloud, threatening to darken their newfound light. Each tick of the clock felt louder, echoing her anxious thoughts. That evening, as the family prepared to settle once more into prayer, Mark took Sarah's hand and looked deeply into her eyes. "We're going to be okay, right?" he asked gently. In that moment, Sarah realized he too was battling his own storms of uncertainty. "We have to believe," she replied, a sense of conviction solidifying her resolve. They gathered once more, their children's innocent voices lifting up requests that mingled with the air. In the middle of the prayer, something extraordinary happened. As they prayed for peace and clarity, a profound silence enveloped them, thicker than the walls of their home. It felt like a divine presence had entered the room, whispering comfort into their hearts. Suddenly, Sarah's eyes fluttered open to look around as if witnessing a miracle unfolding in her living room. The little clock on the wall chimed, grounding her back to reality. Maybe it was just a momentary glitch of imagination, but the peace lingered, urging her to trust. "Let's embrace this moment, fully aware that miracles are waiting," she said softly, her heart swelling with anticipation and renewed faith. But as they wrapped up their prayers, a familiar sense of dread washed over her. What if they weren't ready for the next steps? What if the interview didn't go well, or worse yet, what if they still faced eviction? Sarah pushed back the doubt, reminding herself that with faith, anything was possible. And yet, as she tucked the children in that night, the questions buzzed like annoying insects in the back of her mind. Would they be enough? Would their faith carry them through? As she glanced back at Mark, who was lost in prayer, she realized that tomorrow would not only bring opportunities, but could also unveil deeper truths they hadn't yet discovered. The quiet mystery of their path lay just ahead, stirred by divine wind. What awaited them as they approached this pivotal moment? Would their faith indeed unlock the miraculous, or would they find themselves grappling in doubt once more? Only tomorrow would reveal. Morning light filtered through the kitchen window, casting gentle shadows on the breakfast table. Sarah moved around with a mix of hope and anxiety, her heart still tethered to the unsettling questions of the previous night. The aroma of warm toast and brewed coffee filled the air, wrapping around the family like a comforting blanket. "Is today the big day?" one of the children chirped, eyes shining bright with excitement. Their innocence was a balm to Sarah's restless spirit, reminding her of the blessings nestled within uncertainty. Mark joined them, his expression a mixture of eagerness and still present concern. "It is indeed," he replied, ruffling his child's hair. "But let's not forget to pray before we go. Prayer gives us strength for what lies ahead." As they gathered once more in their cozy corner, the familiar flicker of the candle brought a sense of peace. With each word of their prayer, Sarah felt the walls of doubt begin to crumble. "Lord, give us courage, guide us to the right path." The words flowed, mingling with their breaths, and Sarah could feel the Holy Spirit weaving through their hearts. She opened her eyes, looking at her family. They had faced trials before, and within her cradled uncertainty was a deeper truth. God was with them. With the prayer echoing in her ears, they finished breakfast. The time had come, and just as Mark had promised the kids a special outing after the interview, he suggested a little picnic in the park if things went well. The idea lifted the atmosphere, laughter and hope replacing the earlier tension. The car ride felt both exhilarating and daunting. Mark's hands gripped the steering wheel while Sarah schemed about their next steps. What if the interview led to different opportunities? They could change their situation, make a new start? Yet the familiar storm clouds of worry threatened to drift back. "Remember, honey," Mark spoke softly, as if reading her thoughts. "Whatever happens today, we're with each other. Our faith won't diminish no matter the outcome." As they neared the location, Sarah paused for a moment. The towering office building loomed ahead like a beacon of possibilities. It reminded her that victory often came disguised as challenge. "Let's pray one more time," she said, her voice steady. They all bowed their heads again, the car filled with earnest whispers. The simple prayer for clarity and courage seemed to dissolve the weight of the world from their shoulders. With hearts aligned and spirits uplifted, they stepped out of the car into the bustling cityscape. As they walked toward the entrance, the crowd moved around them like a river, a reminder of the unpredictability of life. Sarah clutched Mark's hand. Each stride echoed with the silent promise of divine support. Inside, the lobby pulsed with energy. A sense of nervous anticipation spread through Sarah as they approached the reception desk. Suddenly, she felt hesitance claw at her voiceless. What if they had not prepared enough? What if the interviewer saw all her fears laid bare in her expression? "Sarah?" Mark's voice jolted her back. "We're ready, right?" "Absolutely," she nodded, though her heart raced. Moments later, Mark was led away for the interview. As the door closed behind him, Sarah leaned back against the wall, her heart in turmoil. It felt like standing on the edge of a precipice, uncertain of whether to leap or retreat. Suddenly, she noticed a woman sitting nearby, her hands folded in prayer. It struck Sarah how faith could take shape in a myriad of ways, binding hearts across dimensions. She felt touched by the moment, a flicker of divine connection, a whisper that all would be well. While she waited, Sarah stared out the window, reminding herself of the verses they had recited that morning. But soon, the drumming of her heart drowned out their comforting words. She pulled in a deep breath, calling forth the peace that had graced them in their prayers. As minutes turned into an eternity, what would unfold when Mark emerged? Would clarity reign, or would they be met with new challenges? The door finally creaked open. What awaited them in this moment? Would their faith manifest a miraculous outcome, or just yield to more questions and struggles ahead? The door swung open slowly, the hinges creaking like a quiet hymn. Mark stepped into the lobby, his face a canvas of emotions, relief, uncertainty, and a gentle spark of hope. Sarah's heart raced at the sight of him. Time had pulled taut, yet in that moment, everything stilled. "Hey!" Mark raised his eyebrows, his voice a mixture of excitement and hesitation. It went, "Okay, I think." "Just okay?" Sarah felt an uneasy flutter begin to unfurl within her. Mark approached her, the weight of his words heavier than they seemed. "There were a lot of questions, some tough ones, but I felt good about how I answered. I shared our vision, our dreams, how much this means to us." As he spoke, Sarah searched his eyes, hoping to find an anchor in the tumult of uncertainty. "That sounds promising," she said, trying to add light to the shadows. "When will we know?" "They said they'd get back to us soon," he replied, a slight shrug playing on his shoulders. Hope flickered, kindled by his words, but with it, a storm of anxiety swirled. They had prayed for clarity, yet the answers still danced just beyond their reach. Sarah felt an urge to cling tightly to her faith, anchoring herself in the unseen. Mark reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "Let's go home and pray. We'll lift this all up to God." Together, they exited the lobby. The bustling rhythm of the city felt muted now, as if the world outside was holding its breath along with them. With each step, they moved further away from the unknown, yet closer to the promise they had carried in their hearts. In their car, the silence hung around them like sacred weight. "What if this isn't the answer we hoped for?" Sarah finally whispered, breaking the stillness. Her words felt like an accusation against the divine plan. Mark glanced at her, his expression softening. "Sometimes the answer isn't what we expect, but listening to God requires trust, doesn't it? Even when we can't see the path ahead, remember what we prayed for, faith that's tested, like gold in the fire." Sarah nodded slowly, letting his words wrap around her heart. Yes, she understood. That faith was formed in the furnace of uncertainty, remolding her spirit into something stronger. They arrived home, greeted by the familiar comfort of their abode, the warmth wrapped around them as if inviting healing and peace. "Let's make a habit of lifting our worries up to God together," Mark suggested, ushering the children into the living room. Sarah watched as the children settled around them, their innocence and delight sparking warmth in her heart. Mark's arm slipped around her, and they sank into a moment of deep collective presence, thankful that in this uncertainty they remained together. "All right, let's pray," Mark said, guiding their voices in unison. Each word spoken was like a heartbeat, trusting and fragile. "Lord, grant us peace as we wait for your guidance. Let our hearts be still in the midst of change." As they prayed, Sarah felt a gentle stirring in her spirit. She recalled the woman in the lobby, lost in her own world of faith. It reminded her that they were part of a broader tapestry, woven with the stories of many seeking the divine. There was solace there, a sacred connection binding them together. After they finished, the silence enveloped them again, but this time it felt filled with expectancy. Would their prayers open a door to the miraculous? Or would they be called to walk a different path, one obscured by darkened skies? The children nestled into a pile of books, lost in their imaginations. Mark turned to Sarah, his gaze earnest. "Do you think we're ready for whatever answer comes our way?" "Only God knows what's next," Sarah said, surrendering her heart to his infinite wisdom. But somehow, I sense that great things await us, even if they're not what we expected. Just then, her phone buzzed on the table, a sudden jolt in the air. Was this the moment they had been waiting for? With bated breath, Sarah reached for it, knowing well that divine surprises often danced on the precipice of the unknown. What would this message reveal? Would it bring clarity, or leave them standing on the edge, waiting for more? As Sarah picked up her phone, her heart raced. The screen lit up with a notification from the email app, the subject line bold and demanding attention. "This is it," she whispered to herself, gripping the device tightly. Time seemed to elongate, each second stretching as she deliberated whether to open the message. Mark leaned closer, his excitement palpable. "Just open it," he urged gently, his own anticipation radiating warmth. Taking a deep breath, Sarah pressed her thumb against the screen. The message unfolded before her like a long-awaited promise. It was from the organization they had presented their vision to. "Dear Mark and Sarah," she read aloud, her voice trembling slightly. "Thank you for your heartfelt presentation. We recognize the passion and the purpose behind your dreams." Her eyes flickered across the screen, absorbing every word. Hope surged within her as she continued, but then she hesitated, and Mark, sensing her abrupt change in energy, asked, "What does it say?" A weight settled over her heart. They're interested, but they want to see a more detailed plan. A hush fell over the living room. The children glanced up, sensing the shift, their innocent eyes wide with curiosity. Sarah felt a wave of mixed emotions wash over her. Yes, they weren't ready to move forward yet, but the interest, it felt like a flicker of divine validation. "Okay, that's something," Mark said thoughtfully. "We've stirred their interest. We can prepare the detailed plan." "But what if it's not enough?" Sarah's voice shook. "What if they want something we can't provide?" "Ah, but that's where we lean on faith, isn't it?" he replied, his tone gentle yet firm. "We take every step with God. We trust Him with the outcome." His words clung to her like a lifeline. They both knew that faith wasn't merely about understanding. It was about surrendering, being willing to step into the uncharted waters hand in hand with the Creator. "Maybe this is our chance to reflect deeper on our vision," Mark continued, his eyes brightening. "We need to clarify what we truly desire, not just to appease them, but to align ourselves with what God placed in our hearts." As the children returned to their books, Sarah felt a shift within her spirit. The uncertainty was still present, but now it was tinged with possibility. "You're right. This could be our opportunity to define our mission, to lay down the groundwork for something even greater." "Let's pray on it again. Ask for wisdom. Ask Him to guide our words and our plans," Mark suggested, taking her hand. They knelt together in the living room, the soft murmur of their children fading into the background. "Lord," Mark began, his voice steady, "we lift up this opportunity to you. Help us embrace this chance to serve, and grant us clarity moving forward." As he prayed, Sarah felt a warmth envelop her heart, a quiet assurance that pierced through her doubt. She laid her burdens down, asking God to illuminate their next steps. After a moment of collective silence, Sarah lifted her gaze. "Do you feel that?" she asked, looking into Mark's kind eyes. "Feel what?" he inquired, his brow furrowing slightly. "That peace. It's like a gentle wave, rolling over me. The weight is still there, but it feels lighter, almost like God is saying, 'Trust me, I'm in this with you.'" Mark nodded, a shared understanding passing between them. They both recognized that faith was more than mere expectation. It was a dance of trust, a movement toward the divine. With a renewed sense of purpose, they began discussing plans and ideas, but everything felt intentional, bathed in prayer and hope. As night fell, they tucked their children into bed, whispering goodnight kisses and promises of brighter tomorrows. Sarah lingered in the hallway, looking at the framed pictures that adorned the walls, each one a testament of faith, each memory woven into the larger story of their family. Then suddenly, there was a second buzz from her phone. Curious but cautious, she turned to look. Another message? Was this the callback they had been waiting for, or perhaps more questions? With a flutter of anticipation, she reached for the device once again. Each thrum of her heart echoed the mystery that lay ahead, as she prepared to dive deeper into the unfolding tapestry of their journey. As Sarah opened the email, a wave of emotions washed over her. The bright screen drew her in, and the words danced before her eyes, igniting a spark of hope. "Dear Mark and Sarah," she read aloud, her heart quickening. Each letter felt resonant, pulling her into the folds of possibility. "Wow, they want to meet," she gasped, her voice a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Mark leaned in, sensing the electric thrill in her tone. "When? What do they want to discuss?" His eyes sparkled with hope. "It says, we would like to schedule a meeting to learn more about your detailed plan and discuss possible collaboration." A smile spread across Mark's face. He reached for her hand, squeezing it with joy. "This is amazing, Sarah. We have this chance. What an answer to our prayers." Sarah's cheeks flushed with a mixture of gratitude and lingering fear. "I can't believe it. What if we don't have what they're looking for? What if we Hey, stop right there," Mark interrupted gently, his face serious yet kind. "This is the moment to remember that the success of our plans isn't fully on our shoulders. We've got his backing. It's about his timing and his will." She nodded, letting his words sink in. A growing sense of peace urged out her doubts, as they both knew they had to approach the meeting more than just planners. They must be vessels of his grace and vision. The night slipped by in a flurry of notes and ideas, each word bathed in prayer. They talked about their aspirations, hopes for the future, and even fears that lingered deep in their hearts. As dawn approached, they noticed how that weight from the previous day had transformed into an eager anticipation, a divine whisper compelling them forward. On the morning of the meeting, Sarah awoke to a crisp, golden light spilling through their window. She took a moment to breathe in the sacred stillness of the home. It was a reminder to her that every new day was a promise, an unwritten story yet to unfold. The children, of course, were buzzing with excitement about their day ahead. As they prepared, Mark caught Sarah's eye and grinned. "Do you think it's too early to pray again?" he whispered, a twinkle in his eye. "Not at all," she responded, her heart swelling with gratitude that they shared the journey. They gathered the kids, forming a small circle in the kitchen. Their hands joined, a family united in faith. "Lord, we place today's meeting in your hands. May our words reflect your truth and our hearts align with your purpose," Mark prayed, his voice low but steady. Sarah felt tears prick at her eyes, the assurance of divine presence wrapping around them like a warm embrace. As they separated for the day, Sarah sensed a shift within herself, a readiness that settled deep in her soul. She met Mark's gaze and recognized the divine spark shared between them. There was something beautiful emerging, an alignment with God's plan. Later, standing in the bright conference room, Sarah and Mark greeted the representatives warmly. The atmosphere buzzed with keen interest and anticipation. Just as they began to present their meticulously crafted ideas, a flutter in Sarah's heart caught her attention. It whispered of deep truths yet untold. But as she spoke, she felt a spark of revelation blossom within her. She knew this was not just about the ideas, but about a mission to reveal God's love and light. Drawing in a deep breath, she pressed on, feeling the energy of the room shift around them. The meeting took on a life of its own, sparking conversations that spiraled into the realms of possibilities they had only begun to imagine. And then, in the midst of it all, there came a question. It was unexpected, a probing that reached into the very depth of their vision. "How do you see this impacting the community really?" one representative asked, their eyes focused and serious. Sarah paused, suddenly aware of the weight of their mission, the calling that God had placed on their hearts. She realized that she had the opportunity to share not just facts, but something more, something spiritual, something that could transform. With courage swelling in her chest, she began to speak beyond the business plan, letting the Holy Spirit flow through her. Each word was dipped in prayer, a promise of hope intertwined in every sentence. As she shared, she felt the atmosphere shift again, the representatives leaning in, intrigued. There was a divine thread weaving through their discourse. It was a moment that pulsed with potential, heavy with the promise of what could be. But what would really unfold from this divine meeting remained a mystery. When they finally wrapped up, Sarah dared to dream about the possibilities ahead. What depths would God take them to now? With an open heart, she wondered, was this the beginning of something miraculous? As they stepped out of the room, a slew of questions flooded her mind. What awaited them on the other side of faith? And would they be ready to chase every glimpse of the miracle God had planned? As Sarah and Mark left the conference room, their hearts were still racing with a blend of excitement and the uncertainty that comes with taking a bold step into the unknown. The brilliant sun shone down as if illuminating their pathway, and Sarah felt its warmth enveloping her, instilling a sense of divine reassurance. Mark took her hand, his grip firm and comforting. "Whatever happens next, I know we're exactly where we need to be," he said, his voice steady and assured. That wisdom washed over Sarah like a gentle tide, soothing her lingering doubts. They decided to walk to a nearby cafe, a quaint little spot with colorful flowers spilling over window boxes. As they strolled, Sarah couldn't help but reflect on the meeting's energy, the palpable shift that had swept through the room when they spoke about their mission. Those moments felt sacred, as if the veil between heaven and earth had thinned. Seated at a corner table, they waited for their coffee, the aroma wrapping around them like a familiar hug. "You know," Sarah began, her voice barely a whisper, "I realized today that this isn't just about us, it's so much bigger." Mark nodded, his expression softening. "Exactly, we're part of a larger story. God is weaving something beautiful, and we get to play a part in it." That thought sparked a flicker of excitement in Sarah's heart, a reminder of their shared purpose, where faith was embedded deeply within their actions. As the waitress brought their drinks, Sarah noticed her smile was bright, almost radiant. She couldn't help but engage her. "What's your secret to such joy?" The waitress chuckled, a hint of bemusement in her eyes. "It's simple, really. Gratitude. Every day I wake up and focus on what I have, not what I lack." Her words struck a chord deep within Sarah. Gratitude. That was the key to unlocking the miraculous, the very essence of faith that transcended circumstances. "Thank you," Sarah said, her heart suddenly light. "That's a beautiful perspective." As they sipped their coffee, thoughts raced through Sarah's mind. What if, in their quest to launch their vision, they inspired others to tap into the same spirit of gratitude? She envisioned community gatherings, workshops focused on sharing stories of faith and hope, sparking a movement grounded in joy and connection. Imagine if we created spaces for the community to come together, to share their journeys, she mused aloud, eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. A place where we can ignite change through love, connection, and faith. Mark's eyes lit up. That's it. We wouldn't just be sharing ideas, but building relationships rooted in something greater. We'd ignite a revival of hearts. The prospect swirled around them like a potent breeze, infusing their conversation with vibrant energy. Each word flung open new doors of possibility, revealing shadows of their God-given potential just waiting to be unveiled. As they departed the cafe, Sarah felt an unshakable sense of alignment. "Whatever comes next, we need to remain open to his guidance," she affirmed. Mark gave her hand an earnest squeeze. "Absolutely. Every step I've ever taken in faith has led me closer to him, and that is where true wisdom lies." They headed home, their minds aglow with possibilities, dreams becoming vivid canvases before them. Yet, even in the joy of such discovery, a nagging thought threaded through Sarah's spirit. What if their vision wasn't just about them catalyzing change, but about being changed themselves? Standing at the door of their house, she hesitated, sensing there was a lesson still to be learned. Would they recognize the true depths of their call, even when challenges arose? With her heart racing, Sarah whispered a prayer, beckoning the clarity she sought. As the door opened into their welcoming home, she felt both anxious and expectant. What were the next steps God had prepared for them? One thing was certain. They were on the brink of embarking on a transformational journey. But what road would they traverse? And would they be ready for everything it might entail? As the dawn broke over their village, the world seemed anew. The soft melodies of birds chirping enhanced the vibrant tapestry of life around them. Sarah woke, her heart dancing with anticipation. Today could be monumental, the culmination of 40 days of faith and prayer. "Are you ready, Mom?" one of her children asked, eyes bright with hope, echoing the excitement that thrummed in her own heart. "Absolutely," she replied, the resolve in her voice carrying the weight of every prayer lifted in faith. The family gathered once more in a circle, their little kitchen alive with shared energy. Mark's reassuring presence steadied her as they clasped hands. Sarah felt their dreams unite in that moment, spinning into a tapestry of divine possibility. "Lord, Grant us courage and wisdom, Mark prayed, his voice reverberating through the air thick with hope. With every word, Sarah felt the burdens of yesterday fade. God had moved through their home, transforming worries into realistic hopes. They ventured into the world, their spirits high, ready to embrace each moment as a gift. Arriving at the meeting, a familiar warmth enveloped them. Sarah took a deep breath. She focused on trusting God's plan rather than the outcomes. The conference room awaited, filled with eager eyes that had seen glimpses of their vision. Taking their seats, Sarah noticed everything, the light streaming in, the gentle hum of the ceiling fan, even the breath of her family beside her. Mark reached out, and she squeezed his hand, a silent agreement between them, a pact of faith. The introductions flowed smoothly, but as they began to share their vision, Sarah's heart swelled with fervor. She spoke not just about plans, but dreams ignited by God's purpose, inviting everyone in the room to join them on this journey of faith and hope. As their presentation unfolded, she saw the change, the subtle nods of interest, the spark of connection in the representative's eyes. The energy crackled, and feelings of unity began to weave through the room. It faced the delicate intersection of faith, love, and community. Elements that weren't merely business ideals, but threads that held society together. Then came the moment Sarah had anticipated, the discussion of their vision's impact. One representative leaned forward. You mentioned collective gratitude as a foundation. How do you envision fostering that in your community? Her heart raced at the question. Imagine gatherings where stories of faith live. Spaces where people can come together, share their journeys, and lift one another as they walk through their trials, Sarah expressed, her voice gaining strength. Through faith, we can ignite hope, teach others to see their blessings, and light the way for those who feel lost. For a moment, the room was silent. Then, a gentle ripple of applause broke out, the representatives responding to something deeper than metrics, responding to a call much larger than themselves. As conversations unfolded, divine synchronicity danced in the air. Ideas expanded and developed, each word heavy with purpose and promise. They discussed potential collaborations, community workshops, and a vision to illuminate the dark corners of despair with the light of faith. By the time they wrapped up, the elation in the air was palpable. The representatives conveyed a heartfelt interest, promising to meet again soon to explore the next steps. As Sarah and Mark stepped out, the sun greeted them with a bright warmth, igniting their joy. I never imagined it would be like that, Mark exclaimed, his eyes sparkling. Sarah could feel her heart swell. It's just the beginning. We have a chance to make a difference, to help others find their way. But even on their ride home, doubts lingered at the edges of her heart. What if we can't keep the momentum? What if it all slips away? Taking a deep breath, Mark replied gently, Faith isn't about outcomes, it's about trust. No matter what, we've planted seeds of hope today. Nightfall draped their home in comfort. That evening, as they gathered for prayer, gratitude washed over Sarah like a warm blanket. She felt the weight lift, an undeniable peace cushioning her thoughts. They thanked God for every step, every opportunity, and every heartbeat that echoed a promise of miracles to come. Let's keep our hearts open to possibilities, she suggested, her spirit ignited as they prayed for guidance. As they finished, Sarah looked around, her family bathed in the soft glow of candlelight. A profound sense of peace filled the room, mingling with hope and igniting a spark of divine connection. The next morning brought a crispness in the air and fresh beginnings. With each little task, Sarah moved with intention, a heart that beat in synchrony with her faith. The coffee brewing, the children laughing as they played, each element felt imbued with grace. Then came the message, a notification from the organization, followed by a cascade of emotions. It was the follow-up email she had been waiting for. They want to collaborate, she exclaimed, barely containing her joy. It's official. Mark embraced her, tears of gratitude spilling from her eyes. It felt tangible now, the dreams they had envisioned converging into reality. Yet, amid the celebration, Sarah also sensed a deeper calling, an invitation to step into roles that transcended mere planning, a beckoning toward true servant leadership. The messages continued to fill their hearts with clarity. God was not just leading them to success, but beckoning them into a deeper understanding of love, unity, and service. Sarah turned to her family. Let us embrace this journey, realizing that every step forward resonates with purpose. And as they set forth, empowered by faith, they discovered true magnificence awaiting them. In you, dear reader, the brothers and sisters of faith, the journey of faith held similar untouched wonders. This is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive faith stories unfolding. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and testimonies about this inspiring ending, together lifting each other toward grace. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this manifestation of God's grace. You need to take action, for only true servants of God understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't wait even one more second.